Hey guys, Ashlane here coming at you with a guide for new or rush Town Hall 10s, and I think it will benefit actually every Town Hall 10, and we're going to talk about a lot of things in this video. I have special guest Aronos, who is one of our best coaches in Red Elite for newer upgrading players. So we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff today, including what is a 9.5, why would you want to go 9.5, why wouldn't you want to go 9.5, the best ways to farm at Town Hall 10, what leagues we prefer to farm in, base design guide, defensive upgrade order, all kinds of good stuff. So guys, without further ado, I'm gonna bring in Aronos, and guys, enjoy. So here I am again with Aronos. Aronos, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up, Ash?
Not a lot. I figured I would invite you on the channel again to talk about Town Hall 10s. So I figured we could start out just by showing people what talking points we're going to use for this episode. We want to make this a guide for people who are either newer Town Hall 10s, kind of where to go once you've upgraded, or maybe you've been Town Hall 10 for a while and just want to go back to the basics and get your bearings. Maybe you're a rushed base. So the talking points for today's episode will be Town Hall 9.5, why and how. Then we'll move on to defensive upgrade order, and then we'll move on to base design. And then lastly, we'll kind of end things off with the best ways to farm and how to start learning and transitioning into 3-star attacks. Sound good?
Yeah, it sounds good.
All right, sweet. So without further ado, let's hop into it. So you've been Town Hall 10 for quite a while, but I know you do coach and help out a lot of our new upgrades. So I figured you'd be the perfect guest to have on. And one of those ways that we recommend upgrading in our clan, because we're a war-focused clan, is using a 9.5. So we're going to talk about that right now. You want to go ahead and start off and just by telling our the listeners what a 9.5 is and who would be interested in using it.
Yeah, so as far as 9.5s go, when you initially go to Town Hall 10, your biggest emphasis, especially for war, should always be to focus your offense first. That's going to be things like your clan castle, your spell factory, you're getting your camps up, and then just trying to avoid the temptation of all the new defenses that you might have, because while they seem really great, the problem is when you go into war, say you drop your Inferno towers right off the bat, you're then going to be more likely to face other bases that have Infernos, and then you won't have your freeze spells, and you'll just kind of be lacking in some areas too. So boosting your offense before your defense is always the best way to go when it comes to war.
Absolutely. So you touched on a few of those upgrades. So if you wanted to be more 9.5 focused, if you wanted to be more war focused, my recommendation is gold is to start off with your clan castle, elixir, spell factory, and then right on to army camps. And then dark elixir, I just pretty much pour all into the heroes. Do you differ or agree or disagree on any of those? Or?
Yeah, I would agree. So when you first go to Town Hall 10, assuming you have your storage is full and everything, you want to get your clan castle going right away. I mean, that's going to benefit you on both offense and defense, farming, war, anything. And then between the spell factory and the lab together, I think it's 7.2 million elixir. So you have enough elixir right off the bat to get those going right away. And then at that point, the initial demand on elixir for Town Hall 10s is really high because you have camps, the lab, the spell factory, and all that stuff.
Yep.
So your biggest emphasis is going to be elixir. But what I would recommend is after you get your clan castle started, your spell factory going, your lab going, if you have excess gold, I would say put it in your traps, because traps are by far probably the biggest oversight of most people when they're doing upgrades, and they have such little weight when it comes to war, and they make a huge difference. So they're quick upgrades, so it's a really good way to kind of supplement your gold spending while you're kind of waiting for those other upgrades to finish so you can get your camps going.
I agree. I always recommend people do upgrade traps, because just like you said, they do make a quite a significant difference on defense. And like you said, it doesn't affect too strongly your weight on the map. In other words, how high you rank on the map won't be affected too strongly by your trap upgrades. So let's talk just briefly. If people aren't interested in war, what would be your defensive upgrade suggestions? If they weren't war focused, say you wanted to trophy push or just build strong defenses for farming, protecting your loot.
I hesitate to say this, but outside of your offensive upgrades, if you want to get those Inferno towers, it's a good way to go. Get that extra expo because it is going to add a lot of defensive power to your base
Yeah.
without, and since you're not warring, you don't need to really worry about your weight. So after that, I would probably go with your air defenses, Teslas, wizard towers. I think what I did when I was doing mine is I kind of rotated. I did like a wizard tower, an air defense, a Tesla, and a mortar. Just kind of cycled through them.
Okay.
And then, I think it took like maybe 2 months and all four were done. So
That's actually a good idea. I would pretty much recommend the same thing. You obviously the Infernos are the most powerful unit you can get at Town Hall 10 defensively. So there certainly should be a priority if you don't care so much about your war weight. So it definitely you can put your storages in range of a multi-target Inferno tower, and they're going to be pretty well protected. So that's definitely a great point there. Now that transitions us. Excuse me if I can talk. Pretty well into designs for Town Hall 10, base design. So let's talk about maybe I figured we could talk about it in terms of common mistakes that people make in design, some design flaws at Town Hall 10. And I have a list of them here on the screen right now. And I guess we could just go through them one by one. You could probably give your thoughts on them as well. So I have first here, not protecting the queen and the placement of the storages as a buffer, hit point buffer guard for the queen. Now, this is more war-oriented when I talk about the defensive keys, but I guess it could be applicable to pushing as well. What are your thoughts on that?
yeah, so some things to consider, especially with your queen, is you want to protect it from like any sort of kill squad or any sort of initial troops that are going to be coming in to kill your queen, and then also consider like wall compartments. Because if you design your base right, you can place your queen in such a way that as she kind of hops around or kind of pursues attacking troops that might be coming at you. She'll hop into like these compartments and kind of draw troops in to kind of start beating on walls and things like that. So if you have other storages and things like that to protect her with, multiple compartments, it makes it a lot harder for her or makes it a lot more difficult for attackers to get through and kill her. The clan castle being centered, you force your attacker to invest a lot of troops into luring out your clan castle, not to mention what it takes to kill it. So generally speaking, I figure like maybe 20 troop spaces to lure a clan castle is a pretty good investment to force the attacker to invest in attacking your clan castle.
Yeah, that's actually a good metric to use as far as taking 4 hogs. That would be depending on the point defense, but it would be within range of within 2 point defenses within range of that lure zone. So that's actually a pretty good metric to use there. So, and also placing Infernos too close together is something that I've also noticed. Most people know that if you have your Infernos both touching adjacent sides of the town hall, they're easily lurable with freezable with one free spell. So that's a common mistake. You want to make sure they're at least either diagonally adjacent or they're either one space away from the town hall.
Yeah, so if you consider like a free spell has a 4.5 cell diameter, so if like you said, if your Infernos are touching like either side of the town hall, even if they're kind of offset a little bit, like a freeze can still hit both of them at the same time. Yeah. But if they're like diagonal by like 4 spaces, or they're like 5 spaces apart, kind of adjacent to each other, I guess. Even just like one cell off the town hall, then that way they're safe from being frozen at the same time. So.
Absolutely. What do you prefer, out of curiosity? What do you prefer your Inferno set to while you're either in war or you're trophy pushing? And is there a difference?
Yeah, I would say in war, if it's like an anti-3 base, I would probably go with 2 multis, just because a single tower just isn't really a threat when someone's looking at you for like some sort of 3-star strategy. But for trophy bases and just general defense, I like to go with a multi and a single target. I like to put the single target kind of by the queen and the multi opposite of the queen. So that way they kind of have to choose whether they attack into the Archer Queen or attack into the Multi-Inferno.
Yep. No, that makes a lot of sense. Yep, go ahead.
Well, yeah, and especially with how common like Mass Dragon strats and Mass Golem strats and things like that are, having a single can really make a difference on defense.
Absolutely. I personally prefer 2 multi-targets in war, and 2 single targets in trophy pushing, and 2 multi-targets while I'm just farming. So I guess 3 settings that I use on my personal preference there.
Yeah,
So
2 multis is super strong, especially since they buffed it. Like now it charges up in like half the time as of a
on the
few months
single,
ago.
yeah,
So,
yes, yeah.
yeah.
So I guess now we can just get into a more, free-flowing conversation. I am going to play in the background some just 3-star strategy. Obviously, you're not going to start out with these level attacks, but I'm also going to give a couple examples of some trophy bases and anti-3-star bases, so you can kind of see what the difference between the 2 bases are. But as far as strategy goes, let's start with farming, and then we can move on to some brief intro to some 3-star war strategy, or even 2-star war strategy, since this is going to be the first time a lot of people go up against Inferno towers. But farming, what is your preferred way to farm? I guess we'll separate it into 2 categories: gold and elixir, and then dark elixir.
Yeah, so for me personally, I farmed the same way, like every time, all the way through Town Hall 10.
Okay, all
I
right.
just did Barch.
Interesting.
I did
And you
it
have a
for both.
maxed out gold grab, I should know.
Yeah, so
Kudos.
so I did Barch for gold elixir and dark elixir. Like I never really pushed storages really at all unless they were like 1 or 2 compartments deep. Honestly though, it really just comes down to the person and how frequently they're playing and
Absolutely.
kind of the time interval between attacks. If you're not playing that much, or maybe you have like an hour or so in between attacks, maybe or like even 30 minutes between attacks, maybe push like a heavier army like with giants and wizards and things like that to kind of push deeper into the base. But if you're just looking for something quick that's just efficient on time, I would recommend Barch. When I was farming, the best way that I did it is I would boost like 2 archer tower or 2 barracks for archers, and then 1 for barbarians, and then I would just have 1 unboosted barracks for barbarians, and then 2 unboosted dark barracks for minions, and then I just had a couple. I just ran with a few wall breakers too, and that gave me a little bit of flexibility to kind of press in like a layer or 2 to get like a shallow dark elixir storage. But it was also really quick, and it also meant that I was able to attack without kind of wasting the boost because I was cooking troops too quick. But yeah, it's just a really diverse army that you can kind of do a lot with. So
No, that's very good points. It's funny because I do the same thing in terms of not strategy, but my entire farming, well, I should say maybe about 90% of my farming was all done in a high Masters League with Balloonian, and then Lava Loonian after the Lava Hounds came out. And I wasn't, I never switched strategy depending on what I was looking for, kind of like you, just barching. And
yeah.
my advice is always, unless you really touched upon it there, but unless you have a ton of time to do boosts, or if you're just playing very, very actively throughout the day, a guy like me, I would attack once an hour or so. So for me, Balloonian or Lava Loonian in as high of a league as I could manage was the best bet, because I really lived off those loot bonuses as well as the loot I was actually acquiring during the raid. So that was my preferred strategy, and I know I like to recommend that the costlier the troops that you're using to farm, the higher league you should be in, and that's my guide I've always told people. So
That's a good tip, and I would say if you're still needing dark elixir and if you're still working on heroes and stuff, you would probably want to stay like probably in Crystal 1 or Masters 3 to farm on a consistent basis, and then maybe once you're done with your heroes, maybe drop down to kind of the lower leagues where gold and elixir are a little more easier to get to.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense too. I guess transitioning into our final topic is going to be the just attack strategy. Now, what would you recommend for a newer Town Hall 10 or somebody without max heroes? Let's say mid-level heroes. What type of attack strategy would you be focusing on or advocating those to focus on?
So at this point, in with the update coming out, I think that it's primarily going to have a major effect on like Town Hall 11 strategies. So for Town Hall 10, I think most of the attacks, or I would guess that many of the attack strategies will be very similar to what they are now. So I would say get familiar with like golems, kind of figure out how they move. Just get familiar with the golem strategies, and then right now mass dragons are like super super strong, and the nice thing about mass dragons is you only really need to upgrade like 1 troop to give you a solid 2-star strategy in many cases in war. So that's a good route to go to.
Yeah, no, I agree as far on both those accounts. And as far as like troop upgrade order, I always, people always ask what troops should I upgrade first, and my advice is always to pick a strategy that you're kind of comfortable with. I mean, a lot of people at Town Hall 9, they're either using Go Wipe, Go Wee Wee, or they're using 3-star attack strategies, Go Ho, Go La Loon type of strategy. So I would try to transition from a strategy that you're already familiar with, and then try to add maybe back-end hogs if you're trying for 3 stars, or back-end loons. And as far as troop upgrades, I would try to pick one strategy and upgrade the troops one at a time in as far as what you need for that the components of that one strategy. So for example, if you're using Go La Loon, I would get the golems up to level 5. And the beautiful thing about all Town Hall 9 to 10 is it's usually only one level to upgrade those troops. So you're gonna have the Lava Hound only one level, the Golem only one level. So there's not a ton of upgrading, unlike Town Hall when you hop to Town Hall 9 to do as far as troops go in most cases. So that's what I would, for attack strategies, you can get into the more powerful 3-star strategies, but oftentimes that does require, at least level 50-ish combined heroes, as a minimum. So I would start with just becoming very comfortable with funneling, as you mentioned, in Go Wipe, Go Wee Wee type attacks. Try to really get down your 2-star attack strategy, and watch some YouTube funneling type videos, and that will help you out as well.
Yeah, I would agree with what you said 100%, in that you want to focus on like one particular strategy that you're going to be able to excel with on a consistent basis, because the lab times are pretty strong. So if you're kind of scattering like, oh, I'm going to upgrade hounds and I'm going to upgrade my goblins or something, like you want to focus on one particular strategy so you can excel at that sooner. And don't forget the freeze spell. I know like a lot of new Town Hall 10s, like they're excited for that freeze spell, but because they have so many upgrades at the very beginning, like they kind of put it off for a while. But you want to get that up like relatively early on. I would say maybe like even like your second or third upgrade. Like golems are a great upgrade because they benefit both 2-star strategies as well as 3-star strategies. I mean, even if you're using like Go La Loon, the upgrade still benefits like your kill squad, even if you're not necessarily only attacking by ground. So golems are a great option, as well as hounds. And then I would say probably focus on freeze.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a good point on the freeze and jump spell to a certain extent, because having that extra time at Town Hall 10 is oftentimes, pretty paramount as far as, I mean, not as big as the jump from level 1 to level 2 jump, but when you hop over to level 3, it's certainly nice to have that extra time, especially still while you're kind of learning the ropes. So there's a lot of, yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, and just a couple other things. Like, when you're looking at upgrades, you look at the lab and there's so much to do. I mean, it takes like 7 or 8 months just to upgrade from the Town Hall 9 lab to the Town Hall 10 lab. So if you look at like an upgrade like wizards, it's such a small increase, but so many people want to get their wizards early on because like they look cool and they think they're super strong. But then you look at like the actual damage increase and it's like a 6% damage increase. It's so small. And then sorry. I totally lost track. But yeah, just look at the upgrades. Like, for example, like minions and wizards, they have such a small increase that, wasting two weeks of lab time early on is really going to set you back in terms of how quickly you could progress offensively. So
no, I agree with you. And I guess, I think those are great advice for someone who just upgraded to Town Hall 10, and even someone, like I said, who's been a little bit rushed. So I guess we're just going to go ahead and wrap it up there. We've already been talking for quite a bit, but I think there's a lot of information overload probably going on in a lot of people's minds right now, because you know what, there's a lot to add that gets added to the game at Town Hall 10. It's really exciting, and it's also sometimes pretty intimidating, but I hope we helped out a few people with this video. And Aronos, thank you so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, Ash. It was a lot of fun. I look forward to speaking with you again soon.
All right, great, man. Take care.
All right, see ya.
Hey guys, thanks for watching my video. Just a few ways you can help the channel out. Number 1, like. Number 2, subscribe. And number 3, comment. Tell me what you think of the video. I really appreciate it, guys, and it really helps me out a lot. Also, you can find me on social media. I'm active every day on Twitter at @clash_with_ash, and on Bindle chat group #ClashWithAsh. And as always, you can find me on my website at www.clashwithash.com. Thanks, guys.